Hey YouTube, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my yeah. My head looks so small. It's cause I'm bald headed. Anyways, so we back with part 2 of this story time with Shootout on my son's birthday. I don't know, we just gonna call it Shootout, cause every time I hear Shootout, I think of that Soulja Boy song. Shoot, let me get him, shoot, let me get him, shoot, let me get him, let me get him, shootout. Okay, for real, y'all, because it's about to get dark. And I said, let me come out here and do my part 2 so I can post it. Okay, so I left off. Oh, child. I wrote a lot more. Okay, so I left off at Dion family then tried to bribe TayTay with groceries and baby diapers to sway her to work things out with Dion. Okay, so then after TayTay decided, I don't care if his family do send me diapers for the kids. I don't care if his brother is sending us money. I don't care about none of that, because at the end of the day, I don't need them to do that shit for me. And every time they do something for me, I always gotta pay it back. And then the thing is, when I ask them for help, they never want to help. But when he asks for help behind my back and I'm not even looking for their help, that's when they give it. And then this nigga be asking them for money and they be giving it, and then I gotta pay it back. So really, they thought doing TayTay a little ones and twos was gonna make it all good for Dion, but all it really did was piss TayTay off even more. Honestly, if I'm being honest, it pissed her the fuck off, because she was like, I don't know why they sit right here sending all this money, because all they gonna do is ask for it back in the next 30 days. And she's like, I didn't ask him to ask his mama and his brother and his sister for that money, so I don't know why they send it to my Cash App, but I'm gonna use it. But respectfully, I'm not paying that back. He paying that back. And so that's what she's telling me about what's going on, because mind you, they was sending a whole bunch of stuff to the house. They wasn't coming to the house. They was getting it sent through like DoorDash and Grubhub and things like that. So if I'm sleeping in the living room, my bed is in the living room, then I'm the one that's more likely all the time answering the door, because their room is in the back behind another door. So like, it was how her apartment set up. It was like the living room was like its own bedroom, which had the kitchen in it, and then she had 2 other bedrooms in the back. And it was behind a whole nother door. You had to go through a whole nother door through the kitchen and the living room to get to their bedrooms. So yeah, I was always the one opening the door. So yeah, that pissed TayTay off. TayTay was not going for that, and she still wanted Dion to leave, and which then became Dion deciding he would rather die than break up with TayTay. Now this is when stuff started getting weird. Now mind you, I have to say this part right here, because the shootout happened on my son's birthday. However, people do not know, or you guys do not know, that I had let my son go and live with his grandma and his auntie, because one of my other sisters named E-Money had threatened to shoot me and shoot up Ashante apartment. And she came out the mouth and said she did not give a fuck about no kids being in the apartment. Mind you, I'm sleeping in the living room. Now, when this situation occurred with my sister E-Money, this was around the same time. This was around the same time that TayTay and Dion had their crazy stuff going on too. So it was like I was being hit from every angle on bullshit. So I decided that my son is not going to be in an environment where he got to witness domestic violence every day, and I'm being targeted by my nieces and nephews to do stuff for them because they mama and they daddy is ignoring them. And let's get in that. Let me drink some of my tea, because I can hear myself wheezing. Yeah, I like my little cup. Oh, it's so cute, because today is October 1st. I love it. It's a ghost. Okay, and this is vanilla chai tea, because I love me some tea, honey. I don't know, I just decided that I like tea more than soda and stuff, because I be smoking, and I just feel like it's a way healthier way to balance that interaction, and it help my throat, because I talk a lot and I don't want my voice to be raspy like I used to be a smoker. Let me turn it this way. I'm so particular about stuff. Ooh, that's some good tea. My throat feel better. Okay, so wait. I was about to tell y'all about my son. Okay, so like y'all know already, I was going through a living situation, but I haven't even gotten around to telling y'all how I even ended up being homeless. And to be honest with you, we're gonna have to work our way backwards, because my homeless situation started at the beginning of 2024, like January 2024. That's when I officially moved out of my own 1-bedroom apartment and ended up in situations where I'm living with other family members and they treating me any kind of way and feeling like I just supposed to take it because they doing me a favor. Yeah. So that started in January of 2024. The story that I'm telling y'all right now with Ashante and Jaheim and Dion Shelton, that happened June of 2025. So that was a year and a half later, after my living situation had already got the ball rolling. So we're gonna have to work our way backwards to that, because that is important, but that's not as important as of right now. But I do want y'all to understand that me and my son was bouncing from place to place, and me being in a situation where my sister, who invited me to come and live with her, mind you, Ashante invited me to come and stay with her because my other sister, Coco, was acting like a jerko or whatever. I just wanted it to rhyme. But yes, my sister Coco was acting like a jerk. So my sister TayTay said, you know, I don't like how they treating you. I don't like how they keep trying to argue with you and fight with you over stuff that don't make sense. So I would rather you and your son come and stay with me in Etheridge. And I said, okay, shit, because I was looking for a homeless shelter for me and my son to go to. But mind you, it was around Christmas time. It was around that time, like holiday season, where it's hard to get in homeless shelters because so many people are already locked in and then I already took all the spots. So, yeah, it was like one of those situations where I just had to do what I had to do to make sure that me and my baby wasn't sleeping outside on the street. So if I had to bounce from each sister house until I could figure out a plan and get my bearings together, then yeah, that's what I had to do. And respectfully, I did what I needed to do. So I'm not even finna get into that or defending why I did that. But that's what had to be done in that situation. So yes, me and my son moved from my sister Coco house to TayTay house. And as soon as we started living with TayTay, that's when stuff started going crazy between her and her baby daddy. They was wishy-washy from jump. And me dealing with anxiety, I can, one thing about me, I know how to pick up on pattern recognition. And I've been in a lot of toxic environments. I've been in a lot of toxic environments for so long that I know when something is going to go wrong. It's like watching the same movie over and over again, but with different characters. This is like when they keep remaking movies and they just get a new person to play the role, but you already know what role the protagonist finna play and the antagonist finna play and how the climax finna lead up to and the resolution they finna come to and all that. And being in toxic situations, a lot of times they don't even have no resolutions to their climaxes. They just be out here, I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know. And I'm not trying to figure out because that's a shoe that I don't want to wear. But, yes. In February of 2025, I sent my son to go live with his grandma because my sister E-Money threatened to shoot me and shoot up the apartment where I was staying at with TayTay in January of 2025. And so because she had made that threat, and I was at a point where I'm like, I'm not finna keep letting this little girl antagonize me. And then when we get face to face, she on hush mode and she want to act like, oh, I don't got no problem with you. But when she not around me, she always got all this shit to talk. You telling people, oh, I'm a hoe, I want to fuck y'all niggas, when baby, I've never even been around y'all niggas. You telling people, oh, you gonna beat my ass and I'm scary. And then when you see me head up, you don't want to fight head up. You want to wait till my back is turned until I'm distracted doing something else to try to run up on me. And then when you see I'm really still TTG and I'm on that, so I already know you a cowardly bitch. You gonna try to sneak me, so I'm already finna hit you with an about face, bitch. What's good? And now it's like this cat and mouse game, baby. I'm not the cat or the mouse. I'm not the cat or the mouse. I don't want to play with you. So at this point, you telling people you're going to shoot me, and we're getting calls from family members, meaning my mama and my little sister called my sister TayTay and told her, y'all might need to watch out back because E-Money talking about shooting up your apartment because she mad at Shanteria. Yeah, I most definitely said, you know what, bitch, you want to do that? We could do that, because at this point, I'm really on that. I'm not even finna play with y'all no more, because you're not finna keep threatening me. Then when you see me, you don't have no smoke for me. I don't like that passive aggressive ass shit. Want to be a big boy when you got an audience, but then when it's just me and you don't want to knuck if you buck, baby. You not about it for real. You not about it. You just want to put on a show. I'm not acting, bitch. I'm really deranged and I really want to beat you up. But because I have a child and I have mental health issues and I'm going through a crazy living situation right now, I'm not even trying to entertain what you got going on, even though it is very enticing to me. It is very enticing because if a bitch threaten me and I know you can't fight for real and I know you not really about that life, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and allow you to leave me alone. But if you keep coming for me respectfully, I'm finna use you as a lesson. I'm finna show everybody why y'all need to leave me the fuck alone. And I'm finna use you as that lesson. And that's literally how I feel about my sister E-Money. And I'm not changing that because you have bullied me for 2 years straight. And I am digressing like a motherfucker. But at the end of the motherfucking day, this is a part of the story that led to me having a psychosis. So, yeah, like I said, I had to send my son to his grandma's house. Because bitches talking about they gonna shoot me and shoot up the apartment. And I'm not going for that. I don't take threats lightly. I'm not even... And I know she got a gun. She has a gun. She has a gun license. Like, I'm not playing on that. But this is not a joke to me, baby. I just beat a whole felony case, a whole terroristic threats case. Had a whole open case for 7 years. You're not going to sit in my face and think you're going to play with me like that. No. So, I sent my son to his grandma's house. And literally the next day after my son went to go stay with his grandma, my sister TayTay and Dion got to fighting the next morning. Like, not even 12 hours later. Like, my son left 10 o'clock that night. And by 7:30, 8 o'clock that morning, TayTay and her baby daddy were fighting in the bedroom. Yes, like, physically fighting. I had to call the police. And me and her baby daddy got to arguing because I told him at the end of the day, this is not your shit. This is her shit. This is her apartment. Her name is on everything in here. And like I had to tell Dion, I'm not telling you this to try to little boy you or make you feel like you less than a man, because I know you show up as the man in this house in every way that you can. And I'm not taking that from you. But respectfully, you cannot sit up here and be trying to cause a disturbance and then you putting the whole house on the spot. You making the spot hot, because if she living in a based on income apartment and she got people staying there that's not even on her lease just because she trying to do us a favor, why would you blow the spot up? Like, respectfully, because if you telling me you don't want to go back and live with your mama, then why you sitting right here arguing with this girl and y'all fighting early in the morning in front of y'all twins? That's an automatic domestic violence case right there if the police even come and see all these children in this house. And this is what I'm telling her baby daddy while he jumping in my face telling me to shut the fuck up. And I said, respectfully, you gonna have to hit me in my mouth to get me to shut the fuck up, because I'm not finna shut the fuck up, because there's kids in this house. Y'all supposed to be getting ready for work. She's supposed to be getting the kids ready for school. My nephew's supposed to be on his way to autism school right now. And you mad because she don't care about your feelings. So you want to try to use your strength against her, and she not going for that. TayTay was not going for that. TayTay was in there sitting on that man. And I'm listening to her sit on him, talking about, yeah, bitch, you thought you was going to slam me. You got sat on, ho. That's literally what they're in there saying. And then you can hear them getting off the floor. She letting him get up. And now he trying to find a new position to put her in. And you hear my niece, Lonnie, knocking on the door like, mommy, daddy. And then he yelling, Lonnie, get the fuck away from the door. And at that point, I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to? Don't be talking to my niece like that. She is a princess. You do not talk to a princess like that. Baby, I jumped up out that bed. I said, hold the fuck up. I said, y'all in there fighting in front of them kids. I'm finna call the police. And I called 911 immediately. And that nigga flew out the room, jumped in my face. And who finna back down? You not. First of all, Dion, respectfully, I always wanted to beat the fuck out of you. Like, let's just start right there. And let's just start, let me just say this. I'm not on nobody motherfucking side, okay? I'm not on nobody's side. I'm not on TayTay's side. I'm not on Dion's side. And for real, fuck Jaheim, because bitch, you just a hoe ass nigga who just wants your dick wet and you want some free pussy, so you go fuck with a desperate ass hoe who don't know her worth. And I apologize, TayTay, but that's exactly the role you played in this situation. Letting a nigga fuck you, can't do nothing for you or your kids, pulling up in the middle of the night and then have you up all night to the point where you can't get up in the morning to get your kids ready for school, and I end up having to do it because I'm not finna sit in the house with them all day and I'm trying to make content. So, respectfully, I'm not on nobody's side. This is a prime example of whatever you put out is exactly what you get back. This is a prime example of energy being infinite and just going through flows and cycles of life and coming and returning back to sender. That's literally what this message is about. And it's a lot of other messages within, because it was so much I learned about myself, so much I learned about TayTay, so much I learned about Dion. It was so many lessons. I said, oh my God, my brain. Fuck trying to focus on the things that I can't change. I was out here having a full psychology lesson in my sister's apartment. I was studying the babies. I was studying her stupid ass. I was studying her stupid ass baby daddy. And I was studying the stupid ass motherfucker she brought through the door. I was studying my stupid ass. I had to sit back and say, bitch, you going through a living situation and you focused on dick because you're trying to distract yourself from the pain, and you trying to keep down your anxiety by doing something that's going to bring you some type of pleasure. And I'm like, yeah, that's all good and dandy, but this nigga is embarrassing the fuck out of you because he don't even like you for real, girl. And you know he don't like you for real. You know he just only fucking you because he don't got no other pussy to fuck. Give a fuck if your pussy good or not. That's not what this is about. This is about him just doing what he can until he can do what he want. And you being the fucking dummy to do it. And when I was able to sit down and say, bitch, you going outside right now. You need to get your shit together. I said, I don't want to go outside. Drop that nigga like a bag of hot potatoes. And yeah. And once I was able to realize that I ain't no better than TayTay because I'm doing stupid shit, that's when I stopped focusing on TayTay. It don't mean that I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the house, but it went from TayTay telling me her business every day in January, in December, January, the beginning of February. Me and TayTay was like this. I'm crying to her about all the stuff that I'm going through, and she just sitting there listening. I'm telling her about my baby daddy and why he MIA and how Jonathan is sitting here acting like he liked me for real and he really want to be with me, but then he turned around and say he want to date other women. And it's like I was just doing stuff. And so TayTay, I was telling TayTay that like that ain't really shit, because that's not really nothing. But then when you open yourself up to vent to somebody else, you got to be able to do the same thing in return. So TayTay telling me about her and Dion problems and his family and his other baby mama, and he on child support, and this girl got this boy owing about almost $20,000 in 2 years, and how it's hard for them to do what they want to do and do what they need to do because he don't have no money for real. And it was just like, hold on, this is too much. And when I started to realize that TayTay got way more problems than I do, and what I talk to TayTay about is minuscule compared to what she's choosing to vent to me about, especially because all the stuff that TayTay has vented to me about could have been prevented if she would have took the advice that I gave her in 2017. So it's like, you want to complain to me about the problems that you caused on yourself. I don't want to hear that. And so I had to learn how to put up boundaries between me and TayTay. And that was the beginning of me learning how to put up boundaries living in TayTay house, because TayTay was really like pushing the envelope real bad, real fast. And I was trying not to crash out on her in her apartment because respectfully, she was doing me a favor and I needed somewhere to go. And because I wasn't going to be able to leave and go live on a college campus until June, because I still had the summer semester, I was just like, I just got to thug it. And that's like literally was just my intentions, just to thug it. So I had to find ways, healthy ways to have a relationship with my sister, but not be overbearing and overburdened with her problems that she's choosing to complain about instead of focusing on overcoming. And that was the difference between me and her, because I was sitting down being able to say, hey, this was very fucked up what I went through, but this is what I learned in the situation. And that was the difference between me and TayTay venting processes. I just wanted to get it off my chest that I had to learn an ugly lesson through some painful shit. She just wanted to complain because she didn't want to accept accountability for the things that she couldn't change based off the decisions that she made and where it led her down the line. That is not the same thing. So, yeah. Like I said, I digress so hard, y'all. Y'all got to forgive me. But like I told y'all, this is a story that I'm trying to give y'all 6 months. This is a story that took place in 6 months, and I'm trying to give it to y'all in 2 to 3 parts. I'm not trying to do no part 4. So today, this video might be like an hour long. And right now, we only on 19 minutes, respectfully. So I'm really trying to make sure I get every point across, because when we get to this big bang, Y'all gonna be like, what the fuck? And honestly, y'all probably already like, what the fuck? Because me sitting here telling y'all, I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? In my brain, this all I keep saying is, what the fuck? That did happen. Oh my God. Oh my God. So yeah, it's like, it was a lot going on at one time. And now that I really sit back after having a psychosis, it's like, it was bound to happen. I'm just proud of you for even holding on to your sanity for that long, because, bitch, 5 years and not have a psychosis, you did your big one, bitch, because them motherfuckers was driving you crazy. Driving you crazy since you got out of jail. And you lasted 5 years and had a baby and went through postpartum before you finally started crashing out on the internet again. Nobody ever talked to me and called me crazy again. I ain't the problem here. So, yes, now that we understand that I'm not the problem, let me tell you how I tried to be the motherfucking solution to them children. Because that was all really my main concern was in that situation between these two retarded ass motherfuckers. But anyways, let me get back to the story. So, E-Money threatening to shoot me. I sent D'Anthony to his grandma's house and to go live with his auntie, and they was taking care of him. The day after D'Anthony moved out, TayTay and Dion, that was the first time they started actually physically fighting while I was living with them. And I was able to be a witness to it, and I had to call the police on them. So, after that situation, now, I don't, if it happened in February, then this might have been around the time. So this was around the time that TayTay started asking Dion to move back in with his mama. Yeah, so this was like around Valentine's Day, because my son went to go live with his grandma like around February the 17th. And then the 18th was the day that her and Dion got into that fight. I do remember that. So, yeah. But what was I at? I said, which then became Dion deciding he would rather die than break up with TayTay. Okay. So, basically, the whole shootout situation with E-Money is the reason why I removed my son from the apartment. And I also removed my son from the apartment because with TayTay and Dion arguing every day, they children was being neglected emotionally, physically. TayTay kids would pee on themselves. So TayTay kids are very smart. Yeah, they're autistic, but it don't mean they're stupid. You just have to figure out how they understand information around them. So because my nieces and nephews are autistic, a lot of times they're nonverbal, but they have ways of communicating what they're trying to say to you. So the only one who could really talk enough for you to understand what they were saying was my nephew Jabari and my niece Jaylani. But Jayliana and the twins, they was not talking yet. And the twins was only one. They're about to be two. But anyways, so with me having my son in the house and me and my son being on the schedule, it didn't matter where me and D'Anthony lived. Me and D'Anthony was always on the schedule. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that gave me time to work on my book, Sister, and Motherless Child. I was able to go get me a workout in. I was able to get me a journaling session in. I was able to get me a meditation session in. And I was probably able to get me a smoke session in too, if I'm really being honest with you. So I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do all these things for myself. This is how I spent time with myself for the day. And D'Anthony, I would not wake him up until 10 o'clock, 10:30. And that's when he get his morning affirmations, hugs and kisses, eat breakfast, time to sing Gracie's Corner, do our flashcards in the morning. And then we go outside for a walk, go to the playground, go find something for him to exert his energy with. That was always me and D'Anthony's schedule, no matter where we lived, whether it was we lived in Trestle Tree together, whether we lived at the parks at Utoy, or whether we lived in Etheridge. I always kept my son on a schedule because that was good for my mental health. I knew what I needed, and what I needed was to keep myself mentally grounded through all these situations that I ended up in based off of where I was living at. And so when I moved in with my sister, and my sister got 5 kids, and they all love their auntie. They do. My nieces and my nephew, they love me. So because me and my sister hadn't spoken for a year, with me moving in, the children was like, oh my God, TT, TT, TT. And they loved my son too. But what ended up happening was her children, because it's way more of her children than my children, a lot of times it was hard for me to keep giving my son the individual attention that he desired from his mother, because I was trying to give love and affection to my nieces and my nephew because their parents was lacking in that department. So imagine you wake up every morning with your son, like I said, we had a schedule. So I'll be up at 6 o'clock. I do everything I need to do. Go for a walk, come in, smoke. Okay, now I'm like, all right, it's time for D'Anthony to eat. It's 10 o'clock. I done fixed D'Anthony some eggs, some sausage, some oatmeal, and that's what we finna eat for the day. And my nieces and my nephews, they in their room, they smell eggs, sausages, and oatmeal. And then they like, TT, we hungry. They knocking on the door to the kitchen. TT, we want some eat. We want some food. And that's what they say. They say, Jay Barry gonna let you know, I want some food. And so because he was verbal, the rest of them, you open the door, Lonnie and Anna right there standing right next to Jay Barry while he the spokesperson. So now it's like, I'm not finna turn down no child from feeding them just because your mama too lazy to get out the fucking bed. Now, was it pissing me the fuck off that she hear her children begging for food and saying they thirsty and saying they peed on themselves and they need their clothes changed and she would not get out that bed? Yes, that was very irritating as fuck. But as the older sister who took care of this particular sister and knew that she was not going to be able to mentally keep up with all the children that she was creating and she was just doing it just to be reckless, I felt for those kids. I was not going to mistreat a child just because I want to slap the fuck out your mama. And that's just not how I was taught. I was always taught that children are innocent. Children are innocent. You do not bring a child into nothing that you got going on with adults because children are innocent until they prove that they are not. So, yeah, my nephew was bad and my niece Lonnie was bad as hell too. But I wasn't finna say, oh, I'm not gonna feed you no food because you bad as fuck and you don't listen to what I say. No, I wasn't. I was gonna feed you and then I was gonna say, you gotta be nice to me because I gave you some food. That's exactly what I would do to my niece and my nephew. Who? You ain't finna be asking me for no food and be mean to me? So yeah, that was how I got them to be nicer to me, but just imagine doing that, going through that every day. And like I said, it was like clockwork. Me and my son had a schedule. So my nephew, Jay Barry, was able to pick up on the schedule that I had with my son. So he knew at a certain time, come and knock on the door in the kitchen because I was finna feed D'Anthony. And they would hear D'Anthony when he would wake up. So they knew if D'Anthony was woke, okay, we could come in the living room and play with D'Anthony. And if we come in the living room and play with D'Anthony, whatever TT do for D'Anthony, she's going to do for us. Them children are not slow. Autistic don't mean slow at all. And I most definitely was able to sit there and get a front row seat to how smart these autistic children really be. It was scary. And then to having to realize that my son is autistic too, I said, oh, what if I'm autistic? This is so much to be uncovering. I said, oh my God, what if I'm autistic? And then that's when I learned that I was neurodivergent. I was learning all this stuff about me watching my son and my nieces and my nephews. I was in amazement. I was pissed the fuck off at my sister and her regular ass baby daddy. But sitting in that house with my nieces and my nephew, baby, I had a blast. I had a ball. Them children was so smart. They was teaching me stuff. I was teaching them stuff. They was teaching me stuff. And that's why I really like kids for real, because people think that children don't know stuff just because they can't communicate what they know. That's why it's called observation, people. You watch and you will see what the fuck they know based off what the fuck they be doing. Them children be smart. So, yeah, it became overstimulated and overwhelming very fast, being the only responsible adult in the house. And then when Dion caught on to the fact that all the children was running to me for support, yes, Dion did step up to the plate. He did. He stopped focusing on arguing with TayTay. After me and Dion got into that argument, and he went to work, because I called the police, but he ended up leaving and going to work before the police got there. He did. And I did tell the police that he had a gun. And I did tell the police his name. And me and TayTay ended up exchanging words because I told her, At the end of the day, you and your baby daddy in that argument, I'm not finna jump in the middle of that. I'm not finna fight your baby daddy for you because you the type that'll let me fight your baby daddy and then turn back around and be sucking his dick again. And I'm not finna be sitting out here looking stupid, catching charges for somebody who liked the treatment that she getting. So like I told my sister, I don't even know if you gonna fight for me or defend me. So I had to protect me and these children because that's all I'm concerned about. From here on out, I don't care what you and Dion got going on because at the end of the day, you the one that's allowing yourself to go through this because you keep tolerating it. And at the end of the day, it's too many kids in this house for everybody to be stuck on stupid. And that's exactly what I told her. It's too many kids in this house for every adult to be stuck on stupid. So when I got rid of that nigga Jonathan and I sent my son to go live with his grandma, I was locked in. Because at that point, my son was going to be okay because he was with his grandma and his auntie had kids and she homeschooled her kids. So even if I didn't like that bitch, I knew she was somewhat of a good parent, good enough. She was a better parent than my sister. So yeah, I did trust her with my child, which ended up backfiring on me later on down the line. But we're not going to get into that because that's going to be probably in part 3. But yes, me being targeted by the children every day to take care of their emotional and physical needs on top of trying to deal with my own mental health needs and emotional and physical needs and my son emotional and physical needs, it did become overbearing very fast, very frustrating, very overstimulated, and it was starting to trigger me, and I could feel it because I would start to get irritated. So I really started working out way more when I started realizing that my irritation level was getting higher living in the house with TayTay, and all she want to do is complain about her problems and not try to do shit to fix it. So yes, I had to tell y'all all that because that was important, because my son is going to come back up in his story in part 3 when he ended up coming over there for his birthday and it ended up being a shootout on his birthday. Okay, so yeah, that's why I had to tell y'all, like, okay, my son was living with his auntie. My son was living with me, with my sister Ashante and her baby daddy Dion, because my son loved Dion. And that's another thing that I have to say. Dion is not a bad person. Like, and me telling this story is not to criticize Dion or criticize Ashante. Well, yes, the fuck it is. Let me not even lie. Yes, the fuck it is to criticize the fuck out of them. But respectfully, I'm not the type of person where I just sit up and I just judge people. Yeah, I do be judging, but I judge based off the measure that I want to be judged on. And I judge based off of what I have went through, walked through, and overcame. So I can't judge somebody based off something I never been through and I don't know how I would react being in that situation. No, I don't judge people on situations like that because I ain't never walked a mile over there. So I don't even care. Respectfully, I respect your journey and what you learned, and I just take your word for it. But a situation where we talking about heartbreak, we talking about cheating, we talking about emotional intelligence, we talking about healthy coping mechanisms to your problems, I can judge you on that because I'm the same person that went to jail over 7 times in 2 years. I'm the same person that ended up in a psych ward and ended up going to jail back to back to back because I did not know how to deal with what was being sprung on me psychologically. See, y'all got to understand that my mental health diagnosis experience literally caught me off guard. I literally wasn't even 21 yet when I had my first psychosis, and nobody in my family told me that I was proxy or could probably end up in a situation where I have a mental health episode. I didn't even know my family dealt with mental health issues. I didn't know what bipolar disorder was. I didn't know what PTSD was. I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know what schizophrenia was. I did not know what none of that shit was until after I ended up in jail and in a psych ward, and I had to go take some Depakote 500 and people telling me that I can't leave because I don't have nowhere to go, and because I'm mentally unstable, somebody got to be responsible for me until I could prove that I could be responsible for myself. You are talking about a person who has been trying to figure out what their problem is since the very first time they found out that they had a motherfucking problem, which just so happens to be bipolar disorder 1, PTSD, and bipolar depression. I didn't know what none of this was until 7, 8 years ago. So this has been a journey for me having to sit with myself, sit with my fucked up experiences, sit with the consequences of my actions to shit that I don't even remember doing, but still having to deal with what I did. So yes, I have the right to sit back and talk about my sister TayTay, talk about her baby daddy, talk about that ragged ass little boy that she had coming in out that door with her kids. I have a right to speak on that because I have went through my own fire and came out a diamond, baby. Y'all can sit up and talk about, oh, you homeless. Do you not know that homelessness is an epidemic in America? You about 2 paychecks away from being homeless too. That's why we look at people like, do you have your own place to stay? Is your name on it? Or are you living with somebody else? Are you renting out an Airbnb? Are you staying in a hotel room? Because let's get something understood. That counts as homeless too. To me, if your name ain't on that shit, it ain't yours, nigga. And motherfuckers be feeling too comfortable laughing at somebody else's situation when one thing about it and two things for sure, life don't miss nobody, bitch. Life don't miss nobody. So while you sitting up here laughing at somebody going through a fucked up shit, you better hope you don't end up on the other side of that shoe. Because one thing about me, homeless or not, I know how to survive by myself. A lot of people can't say that. Even with my mama and daddy still being alive, they don't do shit for me. Shit. So respectfully, being homeless is the least of my motherfucking problems. You know what and one thing that would make me hate myself is if I had a nasty ass spirit. One thing about it is I could be financially challenged in the physical world and I could be rich as hell in the spirit world. And one thing about the spirit world, it don't move as fast as the physical world. Just like they always tell us, God's time is not your time. So you sitting up laughing at me because I'm going through a situation right now, not because I don't have a means to provide for myself, but because I'm too busy focusing on trying to provide for other people that now I'm putting my needs to the back burner and now I'm left empty-handed with my ass out and my hand out. And that's what I had to learn about myself. I'm never broke. I always got money. I'm a hustler. I survive by any means. And that's facts. I don't feel like I'm above too many things, too many jobs to make some money. I do feel like I'm above scamming, though. You could never get me to scam. I'm sorry. I done been to jail for petty shit and had to sit. I would never go to jail for scamming. Get the hell out of here. Hell no. You could never get me to do that. I could never be a scammer because I done already been to jail for way more other shit. I would never want that on my record. Or selling drugs in a state that it's illegal to sell drugs in. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to just say no because I had already told myself if I wanted to sell marijuana, because I do want to come out with my own medicinal marijuana and like make it into like, oh, I'm telling y'all my business plan. Let me shut the hell up. I'm getting distracted. But yes, honestly, as somebody who has been through a lot of trials and tribulations with my mental health and the judicial system and the mental health system and the hospital system, I do feel like I am the right person to address certain things like putting your children in harmful situations, because you cannot be able to sit down and use sound decision making skills because you're too busy thinking with your flesh and with your hoo-ha that's hot and burning in hell, and you can't think with your higher self and with your common sense and say, I cannot do this right now because it does not serve my highest good. And that's when I was able to realize that I'm not like other people, because I don't do stuff for the thrill of it. A lot of times I do stuff based off of, is it going to benefit me and the people that I'm around? Because I'm a natural humanitarian. I always want to help people. So it's like, yeah, to a certain degree, I am a people pleaser because a lot of times I care enough to even want to consider you when making a decision. But something that I had to realize is that a lot of people don't do that for me. And that's where it becomes me being green and me being walked all over and me being naive. And it's just, yeah, we're not doing that no more. So no, one thing I will say is that Dion is not just all bad. My son liked Dion a lot. When my son missed his dad and he didn't have a dad, he latched on to Dion. He liked Dion. The first time he seen Dion, he said, Daddy. First time he seen Dion, jumped in his arms. And Dion liked it, my son. He really did. And so it was like, Dion was a good father. That's something I will not take away from him. I can say between TayTay and Dion, Dion was a good father. Dion was working a job where he didn't get home till 10 o'clock at night, and he was not going to bed at all because my sister didn't want to deal with them kids, and so she was forcing Dion to do it. And I have to say this because I do feel like how my sister treated Dion was directly correlated to him deciding, I don't want to kill myself, I'm gonna kill whatever nigga decide to fuck you. And I really do feel like that's what switched it, because my sister TayTay started getting too comfortable and started getting too bold, disrespecting the fuck out of him. Yes, she did want him to leave, and he did end up leaving. But what she did after he left is what made it fucked up. So let me just say this part, because we got 20 more minutes. It's 39:47 on the clock right now. So Dion was a good dad. He was. And let me tell y'all what I was able to witness in the house watching Dion every day. And this is what separated my baby daddy from Dion. Because Dion was doing everything in that house, and he did not make no excuses, and he gave my sister his whole paycheck. Let's just start right there. Because my sister, mind you, she's staying in a based on income apartment. Her rent ain't no more than like $250. And she getting paid like $2,000 every 2 weeks from the job that she was working, being a CNA worker for my mama. Being my mama in-home caretaker. She was making like $2,000 every 2 weeks. Yes. TayTay was making $2,000 every 2 weeks. And Dion was making $500 a week. And TayTay was taking her check and Dion check. She was taking her check, spending it, splurging it on bullshit, and taking Dion check and doing the same fucking thing. Yes. And when I was able to realize that TayTay is the one that's the problem here, I really did start to feel bad for Dion. I did, because Dion was in a situation where he ended up with a felony case because of TayTay, because okay, so I'm gonna just say this. Let me drink some tea. Dion ended up with a felony case because of TayTay, because Dion want to fuck underage children. This is not something I am making up. This is the truth. And that's why I don't mind telling this story, because one thing about it, and two things for sure, nobody could never sue me for defamation of character, because all this shit is on paperwork. The shootout in Etheridge that I'm telling y'all on my YouTube channel that I was a witness to, it's literally an article about it on Google. I'm not making this shit up. The statutory rape case that Dion had because he was fucking an underage child and got her pregnant, that is not a fucking lie. You can go and look his record up. Yeah, they dismissed his case and they didn't convict him of it, but it was never expunged off his record, and you can still see that shit. So no, I'm not making none of this shit up, and I'm not sparing none of them, because none of them did spare me, my child, or my baby daddy when they thought to do that heinous ass shit and try to start a shootout with 5 kids in the house. I don't feel sorry for nobody. So yes. Kitty. Leave Gucci alone. He finna come out the door. Come on. Because Gucci finna come outside. Here. Say hey to my kitty. Her name is Miss Black. But yes, so Dion used to be oh, look at Gucci, he got a cut. Dion used to work for the city of Atlanta, where he used to drive the trucks where, what's it called? The dumpster trucks, where they go pick up the poop and stuff. Yes, Dion used to be one of those. This was 2016, 2017 when Dion had this job. Because by the time 2018 came around, Dion did not have this job no more. But long story short, Dion was working for the city of Atlanta. He was getting paid good money, like real good money. And then what ended up happening was he ended up with an open felony case for statutory rape, because he was having sex with TayTay while she was 14 and 15, and he ended up getting her pregnant at the age of 15, and he gave her an STD. And because of that, because Dion was like 22 having sex with a 15-year-old, and TayTay was a ward of the state at that time, because in the state of Georgia, TayTay was seen as a runaway, because who she was living with, had put in the system and reported that she ran away from home so that they could keep her social security check but not have to take care of her. So yeah, TayTay's story is very fucked up, and I'm not gonna get too deep into that in this story time. But yes, Dion ended up with a statutory rape case because he was having sex with my sister TayTay while she was under the age of 18. He got her pregnant, and he did go to jail. He got out. And did he stop having sex with her? No. Because TayTay had Jay Barry when she was 16 and then turned around and got pregnant again while she was 17 and had her other daughter while she was 18. TayTay been having kids for Dion since she was 16 years old. So from the age of 16 up until 22, all she been doing is having kids for this nigga. And that's for real. She ain't got no education. She didn't even graduate high school. And that's why it's like, I don't feel sorry for either one of y'all, because I had a conversation with both of y'all together, collectively and individually, and I told y'all that what y'all was doing was wrong and it was going to be held to pay if it ever came out in the public eye that y'all are doing what y'all doing. They didn't take that shit seriously. Dion ended up losing his job, lost his apartment, ended up with an open felony case until TayTay turned 19, and then now it's ended up where Dion has to rely on TayTay to survive because he cannot do nothing by himself. And what was so messy about that situation was Dion was bouncing back and forth from his first baby mama to his second baby mama, which was TayTay. And so he bouncing back from baby mama number 1 to baby mama number 2, and baby mama number 1 got mad because he kept getting TayTay pregnant, but she wanted him to leave TayTay alone. And one thing I realized about men is that if you are easy target, they're going to go for you, because who don't like the free ski? Period, point blank. Whereas his first baby mama, she had him paying the bills. She wanted him to marry her. She wanted all that. She didn't care about none of that other stuff. If we got a baby together, then yes, I want to be with you. Blase, blase, blah. But because TayTay was willing to take care of him, give him money, let him come and live off of her, and then when he want to go cheat on her, he can go and do that and then come back and give her a lousy excuse, he kept going back to TayTay. And the first baby mama got mad, put him on child support, and now here we are. They living in an apartment together, TayTay and Dion, and TayTay is paying everything, doing everything, and Dion not even paying his child support because TayTay taking his whole paycheck. She literally came out her mouth and said, fuck that girl and her kids, because she didn't give a fuck about me or my kids when we was staying in hotel rooms and we was homeless, and all she want to do is argue over dick. So why the fuck would I take the money that need to be used for my children to give to her kids when his family don't even like me because they chose her over me? So I was literally sitting in the middle of a soap opera, y'all. Straight in the middle of a soap opera. So yes, I did have to give Dion give y'all a little insight on my sister baby daddy Dion. Yeah, he was a trifling ass nigga, but he did love his kids, and that's all I'm getting at. He was trifling in every which way, but he did love his children, and that's all I gotta say. But it getting dark. It ain't dark yet, but it's getting dark. So what did I leave off at? Because I digressed for a good 30 minutes. So first I said, which then became Dion deciding he would rather die than break up with TayTay. Okay. That was after the siblings had sent her all the money and the stuff for the kids. Which then became them arguing every day because Dion wanted TayTay to care about his feelings, and she did not give a fuck, which led to them fighting and me calling the police on them for domestic violence. Oh, okay, so technically I am in the right area, because what I just told y'all is literally what I just wrote on the paper right here. What the whole story about TayTay and Dion getting into a fight the day after my son left, that is what happened right here. Where which then became them arguing every day because Dion wanted TayTay to care about his feelings. So when TayTay decided she didn't want to marry Dion no more, fuck that nigga, get the fuck out my shit, tell your mama she gotta make room for you type shit, Dion became very hostile towards TayTay. They began to argue every day, and that is what made me uncomfortable with my son living there. And then my sister telling TayTay that she gonna shoot up her apartment because I'm staying there. That made me go and get rid of my son. And so between my one sister telling me she gonna shoot me, and then my other sister baby daddy telling her he gonna kill himself, that was not a good environment for my child to be in, and that is why I removed him and let him go and live with his grandma and his auntie. So that was the point that I needed to get at, and I did get to it, and technically I was right on schedule with the outline of this story. So technically my talking was not in vain, baby. I was just ahead of my time. Anyways, so yeah, I told y'all I called the police on Dion and TayTay. I told TayTay, you don't fight for me. I'm not fighting for you. I'm focused on them children and this being a safe environment for them to grow in. And yeah, that's just how I felt about the situation. And I told TayTay, if anything happened to my nieces or my nephew, I'm on you and Dion ass. And I told her that up front. After her and Dion got into that fight and I called the police, I told her, I don't care about you or your baby daddy or y'all problems. Only thing I care about is these children, because these children are the only ones that cannot speak for themselves. I don't give a fuck about you dealing with a stupid ass nigga and you being stupid enough to keep tolerating bullshit. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear you go in there and read my nieces and nephew a fucking bedtime story. I want to go hear you give them hugs and kisses and tell you that you love them. Because I'm the only one in this house that do that. And I'm not even they fucking parents. And that's when I just really told TayTay, look, don't come to me about none of these niggas. Talk to me about them kids. That's all I want to talk about. That's it. That's all. And I had the same conversation with Dion when he got off work that night. Me and Dion smoked the blunt. And TayTay was at work. And we had a conversation. I told him, bro, I don't got no issue with you. I don't got no beef, no pressure. But my thing is, if we all living here because we need somewhere to go, and it's kids in this house, and these your kids, you got to think about your kids and stop thinking about this woman that don't give a fuck about your feelings. So respectfully, I'm not beefing with you because I don't got no beef or no issue with you. Whatever issue I felt about you years ago pertaining to you and TayTay, I don't feel that no more, because at the end of the day, no matter how I feel, she still loved you enough to give you all these kids. And the kids is already here. And at the end of the day, I love my nieces and my nephew more than I love my sister. So I don't give a fuck what y'all problem is. Y'all problems is not my problem. I only care about the children's. So as long as we focus on the kids, me and you ain't gonna have no problems. And that's what it became. Dion did not argue with TayTay about them kids no more. He didn't. He didn't argue with her. He went to work. He came home and he did what he had to do for them children every day. I watched it every day, and she did not care. She started using him like didn't give a fuck. So yeah, so then after the situation with me calling the police on him, and me and TayTay and Dion having individual conversations about how I felt about how they was handling their situation, handling their relationship problems, I let them know where I stand respectfully. And I'm not on neither one of y'all side, because both of y'all some bullshit. However, I am going to tell you that we should all be focusing on working together to take care of these 5 kids. And so the next thing on the docket is TayTay had Dion physically removed from the house by Grady Mental Health and Atlanta Police Department. And this is when stuff started to get wicked. Okay, so we got 9 more minutes. Ooh, I got some shit on the back. We might got 30 more minutes. So yeah, TayTay had Dion physically removed from the house by Grady Mental Health and APD. And this is when shit started to get wicked. Okay, so by this time, this was after I came back from my trip to Vegas for my birthday. And yeah, TayTay felt like TayTay had this attitude of, I'm sick of this nigga and I'm finna show him better than I could tell him. And so TayTay decided that because Dion had mental health issues, she was gonna call Grady, not Grady 10 Park Place, but Grady suicide prevention or whatever. She called them and called Atlanta Police Department and had her baby daddy physically removed from the house. Now, what was so fucked up about this was he didn't want to leave. He did not want to leave, and he had hid his gun. Ooh, shit, that gun, boy, he wasn't giving up that gun. He hid that gun real good. They could not find that gun in that house. And TayTay laughed at him while he was being removed from the house by the police and the paramedics. Now this is why I got wicked, because TayTay laughed at Dion that day. Oh my God. And I'm thinking, okay, she finally got the nigga to go away, so now everything will be smooth sailings. Now, while Dion was away, she gave this speech about not letting him get comfortable at his mama house with no responsibility. And she said that she refused to be stuck with all 5 kids by her lonesome and having to deal with that responsibility because she had a job. So this was the speech she gave me the same day that Dion had left. Now, this is where it got wicked. The day after Dion was removed from the home, Ashante had sex with another guy named Brandon, and this was before Jaheim. She had sex with another guy named Brandon, and she told me that she told Dion, and he cried. So TayTay fucked another nigga, and then called Dion and told Dion, and then Dion started crying like a bitch. And I said, TayTay, why would you tell him that you fucked another nigga? That's not his business. And she was like, well, because me and Dion was supposed to have sex the next day, but because I feel like he nutted in me, I can't have sex with Dion now. I said, TayTay, you fucked this nigga with no protection? You didn't use a condom? Did we not learn our lesson the first time with catching an STD? I am literally sitting here like, blessed be. Anyways, yeah, so I asked her why she do that. She said because her and Dion was supposed to be having sex tomorrow, and she believed the boy nutted in her. At this point, I feel my anxiety spike because I already saw the ending near and clear. A crash out was brewing. I became aware of my sister's ignorance and the danger she was putting my nieces and nephew in. I was afraid they were definitely going to end up in the crossfire, and I wasn't sure how to prevent it from happening because the snowball had already been rolling. So yeah, that's where I stopped at in my notes because that's a lot to digest right there. First of all, anxiety. Anxiety, keep on trying me. Anxiety. Okay, so I wrote a little definition of anxiety, and apparently anxiety is a noun, and it's an intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. Side effects are fast heart rate, rapid breathing, sweat, and restlessness, having a sense of impending danger, panic, or doom, which can lead to feeling tired. Often can be self-treated through physical activity, healthy diet, regular sleep, and relaxation. So that's what leads me to the next point that I'm about to make before I end this video. So when I realized that my sister and her baby daddy was both unhinged and diabolical adults, and I realized that me being the one with mental health issues and dealing with PTSD and anxiety triggers every other day was the only one that had enough common sense to say that this is not okay to be behaving this way around children. And because of that, I was able to tell myself, Shanteria, TayTay and Dion is going to drive you crazy. So because you feel the triggers and you feel yourself getting upset more and more frequently living in this environment, you need to work extra hard to combat these triggers. And so what ended up happening was I really like locked in real hard. And I remember I really was already locked in because I remember by the time my birthday came around, I was like, this is my new year, because I believe that the new year start when your birthday come around. That's the start of your new year. And because I'm a spring baby, like I said, I'm a Pisces Aries, the springtime is actually when the beginning of the year starts. So respectfully, nobody could ever tell me that January is the beginning of the year. Fuck Capricorns, and that's no disrespect to Capricorns, but you are not the beginning and the end, baby. You just the end. And let's just keep it that way. And really, you not the end because it's another zodiac sign and it start with an O, but they just won't tell us about it. And I don't even know how to pronounce it. So really, yeah, y'all just the end. Y'all not the beginning. Let's just start there. And technically, y'all really not the end. Shut up, Shanteria. You digressing. Leave Capricorns alone. Anyways, I told myself I'm going to start drinking water every day. I started detoxing from sugar. That's when I started really drinking teas. This is when I was working at the African Braiding Salon. And them women, they was not drinking sodas. They was drinking sodas, but what they ate was very healthy. They always ate home cooked meals and stuff. And that made me want to get on my shit a little bit more. So I was already drinking chia seed water, drinking lemon water, drinking cucumber water. I was eating pineapples all the time. I would pick my favorite fruit and I would make sure I ate that every day, or at least 3 times out the week, to try to make sure I get a lot of fruit intake and stuff. And I remember I started doing 30-minute walks a day and like 15-minute simple workouts a day to like make sure my mobility was staying intact and was still like at the level that I needed to be at when I want to cut a rug out in public. And so when I started telling myself, okay, TayTay and Dion is unhealthy for you to be around because they're toxic, you got to work harder on your mental health. That's when I started like really working out. I started jogging around my sister's neighborhood. I went from doing 8,000 steps a day to doing like 15,000 steps a day. And I stopped talking as much. I started journaling more. I started taking time for meditation more. I started taking time to read my Bible more and try to encourage myself. I started doing my affirmations. I started working on my YouTube channel. That's when I had created my YouTube in March. So it was like I was already in the space of realizing that I had to work a lot harder for my sanity, because I was around people that was literally triggering me in the most worst ways possible. And then living in that environment and having sisterly conversations with TayTay, it was very disheartening to realize that all the effort that I put in our sister relationship was only one-sided, because TayTay never cared about me. She only cared about herself. And I was able to understand that living with her and having conversations with her. And that is why, now that I'm thinking about it, after going through that shootout, I was so upset with her, because I know you don't care about me. You do not care about me. And I just now realized, after 27, 28 years of dedicating my life to trying to be a good big sister and trying to be my sister's keeper, I just found out that none of you hoes like me. And see, what made it worse with TayTay was TayTay was the only sister that I grew up with. Mind you, I have 9 sisters. I have 9 sisters and 1 brother, and out of 9 sisters, I only lived with 1. So the one sister that I lived with, grew up with, and was punished for being related to my whole life, did not give a fuck about me at all. And it took for me to be living with you, taking care of your kids, for you to tell me that as a kid you never cared about me. And that's why it was so easy for you to treat me the way you did over all these years, because you never seen me as an important part of your life story. Only important enough to call when your life was going to shit, or you wanted to hear my problems to make yourself feel like the shit. And that's why I'm on this here internet talking how I'm talking, because it's like, what is the point of caring and protecting people reputations when they have gone out of their way for years to tarnish yours and make fun of all your circumstances, but then somehow manage to always call you when they going through something? I'm going through a homeless situation, and somehow I end up being TayTay and Dion counselor and being a personal babysitter. I'm your counselor and your personal babysitter, and I was doing TayTay kids' hair and TayTay hair. I was putting food in the house. I was a personal chef, because TayTay did not cook for her kids at all. TayTay was not a cooker. TayTay was not a cooker. She was going to feed them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and she going to give them some melatonin and tell them to go lay the fuck down. And this is real nigga shit. I'm not even being funny. I'm being so for real right now. And it's like, I love my sister, but I love myself way more. I love my nieces and nephew, but I love my child way more. My child is way more important than somebody else's child, because this is the child that I chose to bring into this world and birth and lay on my back and push him out. So the fact that I took the time out of my day and say, I'm going to use my tax money to throw my son and my niece a birthday party, because their birthday is in the same week, and these children be in here bored every day. They mama don't take them outside. She don't give them no hugs or kisses. All she do is beat their ass and keep them locked in a room every fucking day. She don't bathe them. She don't feed them, because I'm feeding them. She don't do anything that a parent is supposed to do for a child. The only thing she do is make sure they got lights on in the house and they got somewhere to stay. And if you think that paying bills in a house and making sure your kids got something to eat equates you to a good parent, then you should have never been able to have fucking kids in the first place. Because that is not all it takes to take care of a fucking human. As a grown-ass person, I can say that having some place to stay and having some food is not everything that I need. That is not all my needs. That's just the main ones in terms of external needs. Y'all forget that we are spirit before we are flesh. So, it just like, I'm just sitting here like, wow, I really sat there and tolerated all these things, and I did not have to. And I told myself, you would be a damn fool if you sit up and let time go past and you not tell what you went through, because this can help somebody else. So many times in the community, we talk about brother and sisterhood, and there is no community to even be talking about brother and sisterhood. These are the same motherfuckers who, I'm not even finna get into all that. I'm not finna get into a rant on society. I'm going to get into a rant on how, as a black community, we be so hell-bent to say, oh, at the end of the day, that's still your family, but we do not act like family. We treat our friends better than we treat our kins, and then we want our kins to show up on behalf of us when our friends cannot. That is not fair. That's not fair at all. So it's like, in my family, everybody want me to think that I'm the crazy girl because I have mental health issues, but lo and behold, everybody in my family got mental health issues, starting with my grandma and my granddaddy. And let's not forget, they both was crackheads. And I'm not telling this to make fun of my grandmother and my grandfather. I am saying this because this is something that happened in history that we know about. The crack epidemic that was introduced in the black community after Martin Luther King died. This was a real epidemic. And my grandmother and my grandfather was a part of that epidemic. They became victims to that drug that was put in our community. And I can tell you that was not too long ago, because my grandmother is not even 60 years old. My grandma or my granddaddy is 60 years old. My mama not even 50. My mama is 45. And my grandma is, I want to say, if my mama 45, then my grandma probably did just turn 60, because I think my grandma got pregnant with my mama when she was 15. But respectfully, my grandma probably did just turn 60. That do make sense. My grandma did just turn 60. Yes, she did. I lied. My grandma and my granddaddy both did just turn 60. Oops. Well, anyhow, my grandma and my granddaddy both is over the age of 60, because both of their birthdays is in April, and my mama's birthday just passed in September. So that was me not doing the math right. But respectfully, it does not take away from the point that I'm trying to get at, which is, we need to talk about what happened in the black community, how we switched from being, oh, brother love, and we love each other, we love ourselves, we love our community, to fuck you, fuck your kids, fuck you, fuck your granddad. Like, and that's how it is in my family. I don't know if that's how it is in your family, but because I come from a family, the elders in my families was crackheads, and this is not to be funny, like, all my aunties and uncles, all my great aunts and uncles, my grandmother, all her siblings did some type of drug, whether it was cocaine, crack, heroin. They was doing all that. So my grandmother is still alive and my granddad is still alive, and they both 60. Now, my mama 45. So we need to talk about what happened right there, because after my mama come me. That's 3 generations. Ain't it? My grandma, my mama, and me. And we all alive. And do you think I can sit down and ask my grandma what the hell was going on in the 70s and when you was born and when you... No, I can't. But I can just about imagine. And then when you take into consideration that my grandmother was the black sheep out of all her siblings, and all her and her siblings was physically abused and assaulted and went through sexual assault and things of that nature. Then you start looking at generational curses. And these are things that we do not talk about in our community because of shame. I'm not ashamed of a goddamn thing. So since I know I'm not ashamed and I am not sitting here pondering and crying over the things I cannot change, the only thing I have decided to do is learn from the mistakes of the people that came before me so that I can implement better choices and decision-making skills to have a better future than they was able to create for themselves. And that's all across the board, whether we talking about civil rights leaders, or we talking about leaders within the community, or we talking about celebrities, or we just talking about family members who's supposed to be a good example for the upcoming generation. And because I don't have that in my family, I have to become that. When I was a kid, they always told me, if you don't like how the world is, become the change that you want to see. I do not like that in the Black community. We do not have a lot of people who are willing to step out and speak on things that is hindering the Black community from growing outside of these same old dysphorias and arguments every 20 years. And really, don't be every 20 years. It be like every 5 years, y'all regurgitating the same BS. And I just feel like mental health and domestic violence are conversations that need to be had more frequently because they are intertwined, whether we want to talk about it or not. A lot of us don't even realize that we deal with mental health issues because of slavery. And if we can't even talk about the basic issues that we having within our households, that is a direct correlation to slavery and how they conditioned us to live in certain environments, then we'll never be able to have a real nigga conversations about reparations. And I ain't talking about land and a mule. It's so many ways to get reparations without asking for money. And the fact that most Black Americans are not financially literate, it don't make sense to ask for money, because all y'all finna do is create competitions within the community about who got the freshest shit. We need to sit down and have conversations about healing ourselves, healing our bloodline, re-regulating our nervous systems. These are conversations that need to be had on a serious note, because we cannot get nowhere as a community, and we're only fucking up our community more if we're not healing, and we are suppressing the generation to come growth by not teaching them anything that we learned from our fucked up experiences. You just have this mindset of, oh, I'ma see if you can figure it out on your own. That is bullshit. And I know a lot of people who have that mindset in the Black community, specifically in my own family. I had aunts and uncles who would rather steal money from me than be proud of me that I know how to save my money. I have family members that would rather me drop out of high school because they don't want me to get the recognition of being the first family member to graduate high school. I got family members who would rather me sit up and be struggling than sit down and have a conversation with me about, this is what you need to do. And so, because I've seen it evidently in my own family, I've seen it over and over again in my own family, you're not going to tell me that somebody else is not going through the same thing when we get on the internet every day and say we all live in the same life. So if we all live in the same life, then y'all can never convince me that I'm the only person that's going through psychological warfare within my family, and everybody trying to convince me that I'm the problem because I won't shut the fuck up about trying to find a solution. So yeah, that was my little rant or whatever, but I'm gonna shut up because it's dark. But I gotta go. But thank you guys for coming to my channel today and listening to my diabolical story. And I really would like for you guys to tell me, honestly and truly, what y'all would have done in this situation. Because it's easy for people to say what I would have done, but I want to know what y'all would have done, considering everything that I shared with y'all. I was in a homeless situation. I couldn't get in a homeless shelter. And now I'm bouncing from place to place with my child. Motherfuckers threatening to shoot at me, and then motherfuckers got a shooter in their house, and he mentally unstable. So based off of everything that I shared today, somebody please tell me if I was wrong for how I decided to handle the situation, which is crash the fuck out. And I don't even think I crashed out. I don't think I crashed out at all, because I didn't hurt myself or hurt nobody else. I just popped big shit on the internet, and some of it was a little diabolical and unhinged, but at the end of the day, I had to get all that out my brain because it was driving me insane, literally. But yes, you guys, it's dark. I like coming outside. It made me feel good, and I like to look at the sky. So yes, I have been coming outside to do my story times, because when you in a house, everything echo. When you outside, it don't feel like an echo, because everybody else, the trees, the birds, the creepers, the mosquitoes, they all making all their own type of noises too. But yes, y'all, thank y'all again for coming to my channel, And like, comment, and subscribe. I gotta get used to saying like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Anyways, y'all have a good night. Bye.